So, I have a bit of a problem with authority. Now, when most people say this, they mean that they give authority figures a lot of sass, like, "Ma'am, do you know how fast you were going back there?" "Well, officer, you must have been going at least as fast as me in order to catch up and give me this ticket." But I'm sort of the opposite of that. In the face of authority figures, I can get so timid that they could give me a completely unjust punishment and I wouldn't be able to say a word in my defense. Here's a story about that. So in middle school, there was a required class I had called Tech Ed, which stands for Technology Education. The class is basically just a woodshop class with a little bit of CAD design thrown into it. Now, the woodshop workshop where this class took place was full of expensive, dangerous machines for cutting, drilling, and otherwise manipulating pieces of wood. Now, naturally, these machines were very dangerous because if they can cut through wood, then they can cut through your finger. Now, the school was aware of how dangerous these machines were and had taken appropriate safety precautions. The one I'm going to explain is directly related to the story. So one of the machines in the wood shop, a particularly scary looking one, is the vertical bandsaw. Now basically what this machine is it's two spools with motors with a metal saw band constantly running around them. There is a case around most of the contraption though, except for a section of the metal saw band that you actually cut the wood on. Now what makes this machine particularly dangerous is that let's say you're cutting and you accidentally get your finger too close to the blade. Not only is your finger going to be cut, but because the metal saw band is constantly moving in the same direction, your finger and your hand is going to be pulled down into the machine along with the saw blade, endangering even more of your hand. Now, if this actually happened to you, you would understandably be screaming in pain, and you probably wouldn't be able to focus very well on locating the off switch. Fortunately, in the room with all the machines in it, there's a large red button on the wall that anyone can press easily, and what that button does is it automatically turns off power to the whole room and everything in it. Of course, this button is meant to only be used in emergency situations, as because it turns everything off, that obviously causes a huge disruption to people working. However, in my case, I got in trouble because I was bored and I was just walking around the woodshop room and I saw the stop button on the wall, and it actually looks really tempting. It's just this large red button smack in the middle of the wall that looks like it'd be really satisfying to press. So, me being me, I press the button. Immediately, everything turns off. The lights, the computers, and of course all the machines in the room are now off. Now, the teacher looking around probably figured out pretty quickly that someone pressed one of the buttons on the wall. So he looks around the room to see who pressed it, and then he sees me standing right next to it. I have this horrified look on my face because I've just now fully comprehended what I was doing. Now the teacher looks at me, and he walks over to me. Oh, and I should point this out. He was not angry at me. He was bewildered, but he was not angry at me. I just thought I should point that out before continuing. So he walks over to me and says, "Are you aware that that button should only be pushed in emergency situations?" And I said, "Yeah." "Okay. Was there an emergency situation going on when you pushed the button?" "No." "Well then, so you are aware that you should not have pushed the button in this instance?" "Yeah, I guess so." "You're gonna have a Saturday detention for this." Now, before continuing, just a brief on what a Saturday detention is. It means you have to go to school on Saturday and spend a few hours with the teacher that gave you the detention. This was, in retrospect, a completely unjust punishment considering what I did. So the teacher talks to me and tells me everything about what a Saturday detention is. But then at the end of this, when he's watching me and I look absolutely ashamed at what I've done, he says to me, "You know I'm kidding, right?" And I look up at him and he is chuckling and he says, "Of course I'm not going to give you a Saturday detention for this. But don't do it again, okay?" And then he pats me on the back and walks off. Now, that was one situation where I actually was at fault. I had pressed the button in a non-emergency situation, but however, the punishment I thought I was being handed out did not fit the crime at all. Later I realized that if he had actually been serious, I probably would have served the Saturday detention without a moment's thought into it, and never would have spoken up for myself about it. And it made me realize that this could happen in a wide variety of other situations too. After that episode, I want to turn it around. Anyways, that's my story of being afraid of authority. Thanks for watching.
Rack my brain hoping to explain all the things that you did to me. By me, Mr. Shane.